Yo! So, a little while back, I posted comments on the Leprechaun Origins trailer, the trailer for the remake of Leprechaun. And I pointed out that I'm a massive fanboy of the original Leprechaun series. I know it's campy, I know it's silly, I know it's dumb, but that's why I loved it, because it just rolls with it. And it's my second favorite horror series of all time, and I thought the remake would be a total bust, and I called it out as being dumb. I also said during the video that horror fanboys would play pranks on each other and slip the movie into into the mailboxes and force each other to watch it because we're all cruel dicks like that. Well, that happened. I got the movie in my mailbox and it said, "Ha ha, you must watch this, you are doomed," and it was full of exclamation marks. Dude, that's not cool. That is never cool. Never cool. But he said I was doomed if I didn't, so I watched it. And I'm surprised as anyone else, but the movie isn't really that bad. I was kind of wrong in the rest of my comments. I will be the first to admit when I'm wrong. And I'm wrong in this case. I'm right about everything else, but wrong in this one single instance. This is the only time I've ever been wrong in my entire life. Watching Leprechaun Origins is a really odd experience. The Leprechaun in this doesn't talk, doesn't do any magic. He's a wild animal. There is no sense of comedy in this movie, no sense of camp. It is a straight, scary horror movie. Its plot is like something straight out of The Wicker Man meets Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so the plot is nothing like what's from your regular Leprechaun movie. There's such a massive disconnect that after 5 minutes of watching the movie, you completely forget that this is supposed to be a Leprechaun remake. You just completely disconnect from the original series because it has literally nothing to do with it except for the title. So after 5 minutes, you completely forget it's supposed to be a remake. It completely leaves your mind. You don't even think about the original series anymore. And the moment that happens, you realize on its own merits, it's not that bad. So, yeah, I took it on its own merits, and on its own merits, it's really not that bad. It should have the Leprechaun title? No, it should not. Should Warwick Davis still be playing the Leprechaun part? Yes, he should, because he loves that part, and he earned that part, and he's really good at it. But is it a bad movie? It's not that bad. What are the pros and cons, though? So let's start with cons. The makeup, they hide the Leprechaun as much as possible. They constantly cut away, and they barely show him. And every time they do show him, they blur the camera like crazy. And the moment you see him, you know why. This is one of the worst makeup jobs I have ever seen. It's a horrible makeup job. He looks atrocious. He looks like your little kid made a Halloween costume and they're slightly ashamed of it. That it's a really, really, really bad makeup job, and they try to cover it up every way that they can, and they fail at every step. Horrible makeup job. Con number 2, the plot doesn't make that much sense. There's this town that has been sacrificing people to this leprechaun for years upon years. But if they've been doing it for so long, you'd think they'd know how to do it. But they're really incompetent. Like, they put the people in this house where the people can easily escape from and get away. How have they been doing this for so long, and how they've been succeeding so many times? Like, they mess up at every turn. So the plot doesn't make much sense. But it's kind of nitpicking. You know, you got to nitpick it to pick up on that. And those were the two only big problems I had. Other than that, on to the pros. So what did I like? This movie is one of those movies where you're watching it and you just realize, wow, the director wants to show off. He's trying to show his skill. Much like the original Evil Dead, where it was full of great camera work and Sam Raimi was showing off his great camera work, this is kind of like that. The director shows off a lot of creative camera work. There's a lot of good view shots of Ireland, like really beautiful shots of Ireland, making it look really pretty and showing off a lot of camera work, a lot of skill, and you get a nice sense of scenery. Like, it uses the scenery to its whole effect. Very well made in that aspect. And the kills are awesome. There are two specific kills that are very epic, very sudden, like they come out of nowhere. They kind of surprise you, and they are very well done. And on top of that, they're practical. The whole movie is practical effects. There is no CGI. It is indeed like an old school 80s style, rather generic. It is a very generic movie, but it is indeed like old school 80s style slasher movie like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which was oddly made in the 70s, or Friday the 13th. It's all practical. The director decided to do it all practical, and it's very well done, except for the makeup for the Leprechaun. So the kills are awesome. It has some great gore moments. It does take a while to get to the kills. I think it was like an hour in before we got this first epic, awesome kill. But once you finally get to it, you're like, wow, that was worth the wait. That was worth the wait. That one kill, there's one kill specifically involving an axe. It is just blasted awesome. But... So, yeah, technically speaking, it's a rather well-made movie. A lot of good camera work, some pretty good practical effects. And it's one of those movies where if you see it with friends and you're just sitting back and enjoying yourself, you will actually have a good time. It is kind of a kick in the pants that the original series is now officially over. And that will always be rather disappointing. But what you gonna do? I'm just glad that this was somewhat alright. And honestly, my advice to you is wait until this gets in the $5 bin, buy it then, and take the DVD cover and write crazy money-loving freak that likes to kill over the title Leprechaun, and just consider that the new title, and always refer to it as that. And that way, it'll never bother you that this was a remake. It's just a completely different movie anyways. So I give it 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. It's a lot better than it should be. It's a lot better than it has any right to be. Everyone's going to give it low reviews though. Everyone's going to hate this because it really does have nothing to do with the original. But ignore the reviews. Take it on its own note. And the director does a good job of showing off his skills behind the camera. I gotta say, he's in my cool book for using all practical effects and knowing how to handle himself. And yes, the characters are very generic and the movie's very generic, but no one really does a bad job. There's nothing glaringly wrong with any of the acting, even if they're all playing modern, normal slasher roles. I guessed everyone who would die in the order that they die perfectly, because I'm just that good. Anyways, see it, tell me what you think. Maybe I'm crazy, maybe it is trash, but I was actually genuinely surprised. Peace out.